Hey nerds, Farmer Jesse here. Welcome to Growers Daily, your daily dose of ecological farming insight. It is Wednesday, December 17th, 2025, and today we are back and chatting with Five Tails Farm in Australia, but this time we are joined by Mikey Densham as well as Jay Dunstan, who works at Five Tails but has become an integral part of their business in some very cool ways, which we do discuss. Also on the agenda for today is how their farm business collides with different holidays. Like, have you ever thought about how different your business would be if the holiday season landed smack dab in the middle of your growing season? Kind of how it is in Australia. And we take on a Patreon question about agritourism, so let's do it. Mikey and Jay, welcome to the podcast, y'all.
Thanks, mate.
Thanks for having us.
Pretty stoked to be here.
We're pumped. We're a good duo as well, me and the big J.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad to have you all. This is going to be super fun. So, first, fill us in a little bit. Like, it's December now. Yesterday, just so you know, it was 2 degrees Fahrenheit here on the farm, which is negative 16 Celsius. So I think for you all, it's probably not the same, but tell us a little bit, like what's going on there in Victoria, Australia right now, temperature-wise, and then also just talk a little bit about what you got going on the farm.
We're definitely not at that cold temperature.
No, we were actually talking about that today. We had our first day above, I wrote down the conversion, 90 degrees Fahrenheit.
Oh, okay.
Our first day of the summer, so summer is summering. Yeah, summer is finally summering.
Yeah, like we spoke about in the other chats between us, Jess, it was a super wet spring, which kind of slowed everything down, and we're kind of fingers crossed waiting for this heat to come. And it's funny how there's just, in our climate, there's usually just a switch button, and then suddenly it was like, it's on now, summer's here. So it's really nice to see some of that summer crops that were struggling with the cold and the rain kick into gear. So zucchinis are coming on strong. Our cucumbers are full kick. They're really, I know they're probably about 8-9 foot tall now in the greenhouse.
Pumping first big harvest. Oh, and first tomatoes today.
And the first cherry tomatoes just started ripening, so we picked them. So things are coming along. It's exciting.
It's a feeling of summer, you know. You're starting to get fatigued. The bag's under the eyes already.
Yeah.
Maybe that's Christmas, but yeah, coming into it.
That's so funny because it's certainly the opposite for us. Like Christmas is definitely the chillest time of the year because literally nothing is growing. I mean, we get almost no growth between like now and mid-January, late January before the sun comes back enough to matter.
Well, for us, Christmas is, so the Christmas week and leading up to Christmas is one of our biggest weeks of sales in the year. And that's not just because obviously everyone's feasting, but it's because also peak summer produce is like really starting to hum. And then obviously a week after that, we've got New Year's, and we're talking about like people are celebrating New Year's at peak summer as well. So there's festive vibes, people are going to the beach. So we're really kicking into peak season for crops, but also just like, celebrations for general Aussies.
Restaurants in general, like, everything starts to pick up now. People go outside, start dining outside. So, it'd be nice to see a winter like that. A winter at Christmas. People.
Like we don't have, I'm trying to think if like peak holidays for us in our growing season, like we don't have anything like a Christmas and a New Year's in there. Like we have the 4th of July here in America is like, our Independence Day. And that's kind of peak season, but like it's not a big feasting holiday. Like people grill out and stuff, but so maybe like protein sort of meat farming does a little better than vegetable farming, but like it's not like people are like, oh great, salads. I need to have a big
Thanksgiving. That was recently, wasn't it? That was
Thanksgiving's pretty recent. So Thanksgiving's in November, and that is a big one too, but it's not at peak season. So it's really like, late November, you're doing a lot of storage crops and stuff like that, and it can be a really good day. And for some people, it's a big growers. It's a big day. Mother's Day is another one. Do you all have a Mother's Day there? I'm assuming you do.
Yeah,
we do, but it's in May, so it's actually, as flower growers, it was always like to push the season to try and hit that Mother's Day pump, but we prioritise, I suppose, Valentine's Day, which is in February, which is peak season for us for flower growing. Yeah,
right. Which is funny because it's the same here, right? We get ours in early May, but like very few flowers are pumping out in early May. So like for flower growers, it's really difficult. I mean, it's not difficult. Obviously they do it, but like they do have to push their season a little bit to have enough flowers to meet like Mother's Day demand. And then, I mean, for the most part, like for most of America, at least, like Valentine's Day is kind of out of the picture. Like there's just nothing growing in February.
But yes, I think seasonal celebrations, they can definitely push the calendar because it's the opposite. We've got not only is there, obviously there's Christmas and there's the New Year's, but there's also the big summer holiday break. So there's literally the whole month of mid-December to the end of Jan. People, schools are on holiday. It's summer break. So for us, it's where it's peak summer and that's peak salad production. Trying to just people on holiday celebrating. So it's we're really leaning up to. A big month, an absolute ripper.
I mean, where we live in Gippsland, in the quarters of Gippsland. I'm from South Gippsland. Mikey's here in West Gippsland. But where, like, in South Gippsland, for example, there's a place called Phillip Island. That population quadruples from the start of Christmas all the way until the start of February. And that's a sales kind of outlet for us.
Yep.
So the population quadrupling and people will be more tending to buy produce like the produce that we can provide. So the sales outlets are just insane at the moment.
Wow, yeah. So that's interesting. Tourists come here because we're in Bourbon country, right? Like people come here to go walk to drive the Bourbon Trail and do that sort of stuff. And horses are a big thing here, right? The Kentucky Derby and all that stuff. But we're not really like in a tourist location, so it doesn't affect us very much. Summer in the middle of the summer, like the local towns, like the colleges will let out. And so like our summer break, oftentimes coincides, like we'll lose a little business, but really, mostly if we're focused on local customers, we can retain that. But it is interesting to just think about how different your potential markets are based just on where those holidays fall.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Also, just switching subjects for a second, I was curious because you said cucumbers, and last time we chatted, Mikey, we talked about grafting tomatoes. Are you trying any grafting with your cucumbers?
We actually thought about it this year, but I think we realised that we're going to bite off too much. we already bit off a lot with the 2,000 grafted tomatoes, but I'd love to see it because we're in a valley, Jesse. We've found we've got really high mildew pressure. Like there's a lot of morning fog that sits there, so high humidity. It's a challenge for us, and also from some of my research, it seems like there's a link between low manganese soils and mildew, and we actually have some low manganese. So I'm working on that side, but just the environmental side of having a fog, even in the middle of summer, which can settle and only rise at 8:39. That's been an issue. So we usually do 2 successions of cucumbers when. Look, I'd love just to grow one succession of cucumbers from the beginning of the season to the end and just keep them real healthy, but to manage the mildew, we split the succession up, which takes up a lot of space in the small farm. So I think if grafting gives it that extra vitality and it can help fight off, say, a mildew perhaps, I reckon it could be something worthwhile us trying next year, just doing a row or 2.
Yeah, I'd like to try it. I tried it this last year. I did not give it the same effort that I gave my tomatoes. What made it difficult for me was that the tomatoes I can start in January, deal with in February and March, like when things are slow for us. But then cucumbers don't go in as early for us as our tomatoes. So, and they're faster, right? They're faster into production. So I was trying to start them a little later when I was busier, and it just didn't map out for me to have them, dealing with them in the closet and spraying them and remembering them and doing all the
extra
things.
care and attention.
Exactly. It just wasn't there. But I want to try again. I saw another method that I think I'm going to try, at least just give it a shot and see if I can get it to work, because we have similar issues. Like we're so humid here and we have the fog, we have it's very, very humid. So we do often have foliar issues with our cucumbers, and I'm trying to figure out what little changes I can make to make our cucumber production a little better. But yeah, that's been a crop that always has confounded me a little bit. But,
it's such a major crop. Doesn't get, I think, as much attention as tomatoes does in terms of its nutrition plan, in terms of its everything, pruning, lowering, all that sort of thing. So I think it'd be. yeah, maybe it's something we can explore in the future. When I do a bit of research, we can play around and see what we can do.
Yeah, that'll be fun. I will give it a shot this, in here in a few months and see what I can do with the grafting side, and then just see how much better production I can get, if any. But yeah, it's a crop that I want to grow. It's definitely one that's in a decently high demand. But it's also like I've always thought of it as, one of the more inbred crops. Like it's just doesn't have your average cucumber, like what we grow, doesn't have the diversity in it that other crops do. And so it often doesn't have a lot of defenses, and at least that's how I've always thought of it. And that's how it's always talked about, I guess. But yeah, I don't know. It'd be fun to explore, that cucumbers a little bit more in depth. Cause like you said, tomatoes get a lot of love, but cucumbers just don't get quite the credit.
Not quite as much. Exactly. I'm trying to think what else is kind of new and rising up. Raya was sick. That kind of took Kez and I out of the game for a couple of days, so the team had to kind of lift up and kind of get production going, which is a challenge. But I think that's the good thing. Like you guys you've been around for you manage epically well, and the 2 new workers, so that was a bit of a challenge to get over.
That is so complicated when you have a sick child. It just makes everything, it's so difficult just psychologically, and it feels like it's never going to end, and you don't know exactly what's wrong because they can't tell you. Oh, it's brutal.
For sure. Exactly. And you're going to try to balance all the work stuff and the orders and whatnot. So,
it was very sad coming up to the house to check on you guys, and I just see this little red baby, little fever, and little miss was really a bit upset.
She was. That's why Kez is not around to join today. But
we had a workshop with JM. He actually came out to the farm and we did a workshop. So we're still on a bit of a workshop hangover in a way. Like we're just a little bit, a bit fatigued and.
Yeah, that was a really special event. I think it was a really special event. Obviously, we're on the other side of the globe, so to have some attention from the northern hemisphere.
The big dogs from the States, mate, and they, big dogs from Canada. Sorry, that was deeply offensive to them. But when the big dogs come down to the southern hemisphere, it's a big event. So
yeah, I think it was very special. I think we had a good turnout. We had a lot of Aussie growers that were kind of really excited to kind of. I think be at a place to celebrate growing, not just learn new techniques and stuff from JM, but I think just be together. So that was a really special couple of days.
That's right. Meeting obviously JM and his crew, Frederick, and Jody Roebuck was here too. But
Jody was there too. That's cool.
Yeah, it was a party. All right. It was.
And we also actually had Wayne. Remember, I've from Peninsula Fresh that I interviewed on the. Yep. Yeah, so Wayne popped over. So it really was. It was kind of a mix of kind of more experienced
growers.
And
Oliver was the day before. We had another workshop.
Yeah, Oliver from Romaro Farm, who was on the podcast as well. So it was just a couple of days of just. Like we don't have a lot of the conferences that you guys have in the States, where a lot of the growers get together, whether it's an organic conference or small growers so it was kind of quite unique having just a lot of experienced growers all together kind of talking shop and having some of the younger growers come on through and, troubleshoot some problems and issues they might be having and just get all around experience, like, and inspiration.
We were buzzing. I'm still a bit buzzed, to be honest. That was a week and a bit ago. I'm buzzing from it. That was epic to just have a chat. Like what you said, we don't have the same conferences that you guys have, and we're a long way away from anything. Thankfully, in a lot of senses, but those conferences would be. I'd buzz off those, and the fact this was the first time that I've ever been around this many pumped up farmers. So it's pretty pretty cool.
That's great. And I think maybe that could be something we can incorporate in the next segment, because the next segment, we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit about things like agritourism and how, maybe something like, farm conferences fit into that. Be right back. Today's episode is brought to you by Johnny's Selected Seeds. Johnny's Selected Seeds is a proud supporter of Growers Daily. At Johnny's, they do more than sell seeds. They grow them. They trial them to see how they perform on Johnny's research farm in Maine and across the U.S. and Canada. Only the best varieties are added to their catalog and website. When you need proven varieties you can count on and detailed guidance from seedling to harvest, consider Johnny's your trusted growing partner. JohnnySeeds.com. That's JohnnySeeds.com. Today's episode is also brought to you by FarmRaise. Still struggling with your balance sheet? Your lender's asking for a balance sheet and you're stuck with a spreadsheet mess or guessing your numbers? Farm Raised Tracks takes the stress out of farm finance. With one click, you can generate an accurate, up-to-date balance sheet that shows your assets, liabilities, and equity. No accounting degree required. You'll be ready for loan applications, tax season, or just a clearer picture of where your farm stands. Join thousands of farmers using Tracks to build stronger businesses. Get 20% off with code NOTIL20 at farmraise.com for the lifetime of your membership. All right, back to the show. If you, the listener or viewer, are enjoying this podcast, getting even a small amount of value from it, consider supporting our work over at patreon.com/no-till-growers. I will try to get to questions from everywhere the questions come in, but we will always get to your Patreon questions. And today we have a Patreon question for our Australian friends from Karen Mason, who asks, quote, "My question for the couple from Australia revolve around agritourism. I don't know if I have any specific questions, but I have 14 acres in the North Woods of Wisconsin, and I would really like to figure out what to do with the land I am not farming. What are the possibilities? I have a beautiful old dairy barn that drew me to this property and a backfield, which is about 5 acres that needs to become something. No electricity or water back there, but I am looking for creating a passive-ish income. Thanks," end quote. Okay, so I know, Mikey, you and I kind of touched on this a bit in our first chat back in the summer, but maybe flesh it out a little bit, like what you all are doing in terms of your agritourism and how that kind of fits into your business.
Yeah, absolutely. So like what we spoke about, I think the main focus that we had as the business was to try to start branching into some alternative, markets and income streams, that being agritourism, but to do it in a way which is incredibly low risk and low upfront capital investments. So that were the kind of, I think, the criteria that kind of guided our decision making. To say that after a year now, I think because we've got some experience with it and we've had some precedences, our ability to kind of look outside that box and kind of say, okay, now we may want to invest a bit more capital in it because we know that generates money. But that's kind of my first kind of go-to is there a way of doing this that's low risk? Because I think that's where a lot of people get into trouble. And a scenario like this, you've got a beautiful barn and you have an idea and you're like, I want to make it into an event space or a wedding. Before you know it, you've dropped $50,000 and the market wasn't there. Or $50,000 and you realize that you needed $150,000 to really nail it. So that's kind of, I guess that's the first thing that kind of comes to mind.
I think America, you guys have hip camp, don't you? Do you have
Yep.
hip camp? Yeah, I mean that was what the hip camp is an incredible one to start up because you just need a paddock. You can have people come as fully self-contained, so you don't need anything, and you could test the waters whether you even enjoy having other people on your property, because that's something that I know other properties around where I live don't enjoy it. They thought they would have this amazing passive income, and they hated it. And then you'd be catering. Then you'd probably want to cater off to one-off events and things like that. Yep. But hip camp's a good one to get your toe in the water, because it's relatively easy to start up. I don't know how it is in the States, but as long as you have the kind of road access and people can get in there pretty easy. I mean, if they're fully self-contained, you literally have to do nothing. You just have a campsite pretty visible there and people come and camp, and that's a passive income right there. That could be as easy as that, as low tech as that, I should say. Or it could be a full-scale renovation on the dairy and Airbnb, or it's there's a lot of different options. It just depends on what you're willing to put into it, how keen you are is to make it into a proper business. And I'd definitely probably go a little bit lighter at the start, from the experiences that my neighbours at least have had. But
yeah, I think that's interesting, because definitely when you hear there's a barn there, I know there's no water or electricity. That would probably cost a fair bit to get back there. But yeah, my first thought is like, that sounds like an event space if you're going to use it. But yeah, having an event space is basically starting another business. And in order to start any business, you have to have upfront capital. You have to have a good business plan. You have to have some goals that you're going for. You have to really plan it out, even if it's something that feels somewhat passive, like other people rent this space, other people use it, other people decorate it oftentimes, other people are bringing the flowers or whatever. You still have to have some amount of engagement with that and plan for it, or otherwise, that falls into your high risk, note there, Mikey.
Yeah, I think it's like, I know what keeps coming to mind is it always comes back to what we always talk about, which is planning, and it is analyzing scenarios. Like there's always an impulse to just dive in and do something, and most of the time it gets us into trouble. And I think often these agritourism things or these alternative income streams, they're like passion projects that get people really up and buzzing. And then before they know it, they're 6 months down the path of doing something rather than sitting back and saying, okay, I'm in Wisconsin. What are the market opportunities? How far am I from a regional city? Is there a food trail in the area? Opening up hip camp, is that something? Are there other people doing hip camp in the area? That's either an opportunity or maybe it's oversaturated. And I think that's the really important thing is taking time. Take your time. Get a big whiteboard out, map the ideas. AI is so good for that. I often use ChatGPT as a sounding board for ideas, and you can have a whole conversation on that and just, say, this is what I have, this is where I am, let's generate some ideas and play with that. And before you know it, you'll even start to see what sits with you better, what feels better, just from that brainstorming kind of activity.
Yeah, I mean, it touches on an important thing I think farmers often forget too, is just like research in general. A lot of people are starting farms without doing any sort of, upfront research and just like market research. And I think that same thing applies to anything that you're going to start, including like, for instance, let's say you want to do an value-added product. You need to know like how many people are selling hot sauce at the farmer's market. Is there a market for this? Is there I want to do, beet kvass or whatever. Like, is there a market for that in your region, in your area? Because I think that is a part that's often skipped. People look at the opportunity and start coming up with ideas there and not at the market and developing those ideas from that. Does that make sense?
Yep, absolutely. And I think it's funny, like we're pretty what's the word? I think we're pretty tuned in the planning kind of stuff. But there are pitfalls all over the place. We get excited. We ran the event that we had like recently with JM. We also did the first time we did a backyard growing, which was really cute to kind of just like share some practical and professional skills as market garden growers with the everyday person. We were so sick of seeing people having these little gardens in their backyard, which were incredibly unproductive. So we ran these courses, and I said to Kez after, it's so interesting to know that our location limited our capacity in the sense of our distance from large urban centres. We had people on the other side of town saying, I'd love to come to you guys, but there's a distance, and I couldn't find enough places, like there weren't enough Airbnbs to even stay the night in your area, so I didn't want to sign up. So all these little kind of things, and then it's like you've got this amazing product, you've got a beautiful farm location, and the simple thing that there weren't enough, accommodation nearby stopped, had a ceiling to how many people would participate, which has given us, I think, another avenue to chew upon. Yeah. Well, that's obviously another opportunity. We were kind of like, okay, what if we opened up the backfield for camping and charge, X amount for people to come? So it generates ideas, but there's a lot more to it than simply here's an idea.
But that's the thing, how much energy you're willing to put into that. Like we said, it opens up an opportunity, but we are growers. So like the agritourism is a avenue of our business, or the business itself, but it's also, a business in itself. So, especially the peak time for that, even though we don't really have a winter where you got, like how you guys have, where you lock off, like we grow through winter. You guys can grow through winter, but obviously in, what'd you say, -16 is a bit more difficult.
Bit grim.
Bit grim, just a bit, to say the least. But
we usually don't get that in December, so like we're headed into, we haven't even started the winter really yet. So yeah.
To be honest, mate, it sounds like a bit of a romantic white Christmas. I'm picturing like Christmas carols, warm fire. What is it? What do you guys have? The eggnog?
Oh no. It's going to be the opposite. It's supposed to be rainy and like slightly colder than hoodie weather. So that's our Christmas. So
you just ruined my fairy tale of America. That's like, I'm just imagining rosy cheeks and some fires. Maybe,
Oh no! If you go a little further north, maybe you get some of that. But no, in Kentucky we just get mud. It's mud season.
Gross. Okay.
It's gross.
And fried chicken.
Yeah. Oh, true. And fried chicken. Nothing wrong with fried chicken.
Yeah.
Is that a winter thing though?
Oh, that's an anytime thing. Sure.
Yeah.
I think. And maybe this is just the thing to leave it on with land. anytime, and I always think about this with land. With land comes so much possibility, it can be overwhelming. And then you feel like you need to chase every opportunity. But sometimes, like, part of that is that you just have to figure out how to focus on the things you actually want to do and actually can do. And then maybe the opportunity can be passed on to somebody else who wants that for a more like a more passive income, where I know you talked about renting like a cabin or something, right, on your property. Like somebody had, So like that to me is a better use of that, to have somebody else have their brain power, like utilizing that piece of land in that way. And then maybe you get some smaller cut of it, but you don't have to handle any of the complexities of it. So I don't know. That's kind of where my brain goes on that, is the possibility can be overwhelming.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Sometimes constraints can be a benefit in those early stages.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to take a quick break, and then Jay is going to give us a little bit more detail about being on the crew side of this farm, BRB. Today's episode is brought to you by Farmhand. Farmers who partnered with Farmhand say they grew an average of 63% this year because it's more than software. Farmhand is your business coach and assistant, helping to sell out, save time, and grow smarter with real data from real farms, shaping websites that convert, campaigns that sell, and fulfillment systems that run smoothly. Curious what that looks like? Meet the founder, Ari, at farmhand.partners/no-till and see the same insights and support the fastest growing farms rely on every week. That's farmhand.partners/no-till. All right, back to the show. All right, Jay, so tell us a little bit about yourself, like how you got into farming, but also like how you found Mikey and Kez.
Oh, well, that's actually a funny one, how I found them. How I got into farming, I think I've wanted to be a farmer since I was 14. And you remember MySpace?
Yeah.
Just before that kind of cracked out, when I'm in my 30s now, but in my 20s, we looked back at the MySpaces to all my mates to see what we wanted to be. And in my About Me, I was like dead set, I'm going to be a farmer when I grow up. So since the very first MySpace, I wanted to be a farmer. That was all I wanted to do. But I delved in, so my wife is from the Netherlands. In Australia, well, even before that, I met my wife in Asia when I was working on a farm in Laos. And then she came over here to Australia, and for her to stay an extra year, we had to do farm work. So we just used that opportunity to travel around Australia and work on different farms. So we traveled around Australia for, Shabo, must be 3 or 4 years, something like that. And then we worked on multiple farms around Australia for 3 or 4 years in seasonal positions. And then we worked in Tasmania, a southern state of Australia. It's an island state of Australia. And we stayed there on a flower farm for another 3 years. And I'm lucky enough to have family land. So my family have a farm in South Gippsland. So Kim and I went back to the mainland, which is where we are now. And we actually took over the farm while we moved to the farm there. And I was looking for farm work in the relative area. And I had never worked on organic farms. I've always worked on mass farms, big farms. And I've always wanted to, I didn't like the use of pesticides, and I liked a more natural way of living. But I just had no connection to that growing up. I grew up in just a relatively, I suppose, traditional farming world, if that makes sense. I've always wanted to be in organics, but I always found that it was hard to penetrate, because if you're not from that world, you don't even know where to look to. And especially in Australia, we don't have those resources. Well, not then anyway. And we always used to go to those health food cafes. My partner's very much into that. And she found this magazine, and smack bang on the cover was Mikey and Kez, and just smiling out the front of it, at a farm called Mossy Willow in the Peninsula.
Yeah.
And so Kim's like, mate, you got to, well, she didn't say that. She'll listen to that. She didn't say mate. She would have said much more classy Dutch accent than my butchering Australian accent. But she said, oh, you got to apply. And funnily enough, it was at the exact time that they had a job opening. And I knew nothing about Mossy Willow. I knew nothing about Mikey and Kez. And I just applied for that job, and I met them there. And that was like seven or so years ago. And I've just been farming in this small scale, in particular no-till movement ever since. And I got pretty into it. I took on the family farm. We had a farm of our own, my wife and I, Into the Roots. And then we got smashed by a couple of storms, and we couldn't make ends meet in that sense. We still have the farm now, but it's a bit of a mess. And Mikey and Kez, I've always been mates with them ever since I worked with them. And there was an opportunity for me to become a full-time member of the team, and I thought this is a great time for me to put my passions to work along my, some of my best friends, and to form something, bigger than, I could do on my own. And now I'm being a team member with these two. It's awesome. Like, I work for the farm, but I work for it as if it's, my own baby as well. So I really am passionate about working with them, and striving to make this something bigger than we could have dreamt. That's a bit of a rundown. It's a bit more complex than that, but that was a big intro, I guess.
No, that's great. And do you feel like your goals are to have your own farm one day, or are you kind of on the fence about?
No, so I still have my own farm.
Sorry, I mean, I should have said that in a different way. I should have said like to sort of continue to build up your own farm.
No, well, so funnily enough, how we're doing things now with Five Tails is actually the farm. After this second storm, we kind of went off, and I just got a job somewhere else, and I thought, bugger this, is too hard to mentally just, especially when you just don't clean up and things were becoming overgrown, and it was just, and I'm sure any grower listening to this can understand that clean up stage after something like that. You got no money and you got no time, and you need one of them, and if you have both, then you're just in this rut. So funnily enough, I was working with Mike and Kez, and I love being back into it. But then we've hit critical mass in the gardens that are here. So we're actually starting to grow five-tail crops on my farm. And I'm employed a day a week at my farm growing 4 five-tails. And it's a completely different growing area as well. And the soil is, we've had no dig principles there for 3 years. So the soil underneath this insane weed bank from the pastoral blow-in is incredible. Like, we went there on Friday, Mike and I, and we're struggling with the weed pressure at the moment, but the soil is very, very good, and we're already starting to pump out some of the crops for five-tails at the second location, and we're just we're delving into that to have that. So I predominantly work here in this place, but at the moment it's 4 days here and 1 day at my own place, but it's all for five-tails.
I kind of love that. I love this idea of like you having this space of your own, right, and your own farm, and then simultaneously having this business that you're connected with that's already established and that's functioning and has a market and has all these things that you get to.
It's
grow
incredible.
For.
Yeah.
It's
incredible. It means that it also gives us all the space to grow. Like, so I'm a dedicated worker of five-tails, but it also gives me enough. My wife and I still have our brand, and we can grow a few things, but I don't have any ambitions of having Into the Roots be as what it was. We like to look at it, Mikey calls it the phoenix, like the rise from the ashes. So the farm becomes productive. It, my family just wants it to produce food, and if it gives me a job and it produces food, then it doesn't have to be for our brand. That's not the purpose of what we do. We want to grow in, a good ecological way to do the best thing for our land, and it's our family land, so it's important to do the best thing for it. And if that means growing for five-tails, that's incredible. What an opportunity to work for these guys and to rebuild a productive farm at our house. That's I'm stoked with that opportunity, as well as Kim, my wife, she still grows sunflowers on the side just for, a bit of, still passionate about it, but we don't need her to do that to make a living. It's just, we'll always have a couple of beds to sell to some of our old customers, but, we're going to try and grow the customers in our area, because it's also a new area, grow the customers in that area for five-tails. And if Into the Roots, my brand, wanted to sell, we'd sell it through five-tails to make this bigger incorporated brand, kind of like a collab of small farms all together.
In some ways, that's kind of like the dream for a lot of people to have. I think a lot of people, especially, the American mindset is very entrepreneurial, and it wants to be like, have their own thing, do their own thing. But sometimes like joining something like that in almost more of a cooperative sense, I think is such a better way to get started and then build on this thing, like the Five Tails thing, that you clearly have a sense of propriety over, which is huge. To have an employee that has that sense of propriety is like a really special thing.
Yeah. Oh no, I want this to be the like I see us as being, you know, growing together forever. Like I love this. I love this brand. I believe in it. I'm passionate about it. Mikey and Kez are, some of my best friends. Like Mikey was the MC at my wedding. Like we're not, I'm not going anywhere. Like I love this. And my wife's really into it. It's a great lifestyle that we're living through this. And it's, you know, and Mikey and Kez are geniuses as well. Like I'm an incredible fruit picker is what I did for my seasonal work. And I think I did well running the farm, but my concentration levels, it's scattered, it's crazy. And Mike and Kez bouncing off each other and then bouncing off with me, I feel like, it's a great team together. And it's like, one of my neighbours always used to say, he had a company, I forget what, Network Synergy or something like that. And I was like, what is Network Synergy? What is Synergy? And he's gone, it's when 1 + 1 = 3. And I've always thought, that's a great analogy. So it's like, if what you could do is an output of 1, and what you could do with an incredible colleague gives you an output of 3, then it's incremental, you know. If there's 3 great minds behind a business or 4 great minds, the output gets incrementally better. So it's like, you know, we could be 1 + 1 + 1 = 10 of the output, and that's how I feel when I'm with Mikey and Kez. You know, it's greater than what me and my wife could have been, because our output might have always been 2, but with us and with my wife as well, it could be an output of 10 just from the 3 of us. So that's how I feel when we put our minds together, if that makes sense.
No, it makes a ton of sense, and I also feel like there are personalities, and I think I'm one of these people. I know that worker bee is not exactly the right analogy, but that's often how I've described myself. Like, I'm really good at that role. If you said, go out and pick this, I would go, I'd check it with you, I'd make sure it's done right. I would do it, you know, as hard as I could, and I would just do that job and be happy to do that job.
Yeah.
It is harder for that sort of personality, I think, to run a business on their own. Whereas if you plug that personality into the right business or into the right situation, like, then you get to that synergy that you're talking about. And I think, like, that is always something that I think in my experience as a farm owner, that I've missed out on a little bit, that I wish I'd found a situation like what you have. Like, that's really cool.
Yeah, I get what you're saying with the entrepreneurial thing as well, because I am like that as well. Like, I wanted to drive my own business, and I mean, I have cattle as well, and I probably am talking from a sense of like, I have got avenues where I'm still kind of the boss, if that makes sense. But the fact is that sometimes when I'm overwhelmed or I'm overdone or something, the thing that I want to give up isn't working with Mike and Kez, it's the other stuff. It's working for myself. So it's like, you know, when you hit that wall, and I have worked for myself for years as well, running my own market garden. And I have times where I'm just like, exactly what you said, like, I'm just like, I just wish I could just go out and pick the peas flat stick and just not have to worry about who I'm going to bloody sell them to, you know? Like, you just want to go out there and say, I've picked a heap of peas in a certain amount of time, this is incredible. But then at the end of it, I'm already thinking, so I'm not enjoying the process. I love picking peas. I love it. But I'm not enjoying the process because I'm like, who the hell am I going to sell these peas to? They've just all come on. I'm not ready for this, you know? So whereas here, I've got the peas growing and I'm like, okay, I've got to pick all these. I'll send a voice memo to Mikey, and Mikey's already on the blower trying to figure out who to sell them to while I'm picking them. So we're all in our roles, and it's just like amazing because it's working together through that system where it's like, okay, we're, you know, I'm knowing that this product's sold because I back Mikey's going to be able to sell it. It's incredible. And I know that he's going to get a good price for it. And then, you know, and I know that it's on, I'm to pick peas because Kez has put it in the schedule to the minute, you know, like, it's just a great, it's a great system in that sense. And Kez's scheduling, outrageously good. Mikey's, you know, ability to market and to find sales avenues, incredibly good. And my ability to lift heavy objects, incredibly good. So, like, we've got a good mix in that sense. And I'm super proud to be, if I got rid of all of my business and, you know, the farm, if my family farm, I'm in touch with it, doesn't, but if I was to move into town and just work for Five Tails, I'd be as fulfilled as what I am running my own show.
Yeah,
I think it's important for people to, I hope other people that can just get into farming find the satisfaction from just working for a farm. I hope we offer that down the track to more people. I know we have the seasonal workers, but both Mikey Cares and myself want this place to grow into a point where we get more permanent workers, because it's an incredible lifestyle just as a worker.
That's very cool. Well, Jay, thank you so much for joining us today. This has been super fun. I know it's late there, so you probably need to get some rest. Yes. Not only late, but the middle of summer. But hey, I appreciate you so much. Thank you for coming on.
Thanks, mate. And thanks for doing what you've been doing. I've been, especially when we're running our own show as well, your calming voice was getting me through a lot of things. And it was really good to actually meet you. It was awesome. And thanks so much for the opportunity. It's awesome. Thanks, mate.
Yeah, you're welcome. And one of these days, maybe we'll make it down there to host a conference, right? We need to do more conferences.
We would all love that. I am still buzzing from that one. So if you came down and hosted one, I'd be super stoked. So
awesome.
And there's a lot of farmers that need that stuff. So it'll be great for our community down here to do more of that. I can't believe how many you have in America. That's blowing my mind. So
oh yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah. But we'd love to host you and come down and just talk shop for a night, have an amazing dinner and just talk farming, geek out on the farming. Love it.
Yeah, love it. All right, I hope you enjoyed that episode. So much fun. We will put all the links for how to follow both Five Tails Farm and Jay in the show notes. Don't forget, No Till Growers is now officially a nonprofit 501c3, so donations are tax deductible and greatly appreciated. You can learn more about how to do that in the show notes. Please make sure to like and subscribe and or follow wherever you're getting this podcast. That's an easy way to help us out as well. Enormous thank you to all of our show sponsors, and if you'd ever like to sponsor the show, you can reach out to Farmer Michelle at notillgrowers.com. Huge shouts to Willie Breeding for the theme music, Mike Hilbert for the production help and editing, and my wife Hannah for everything in the world. Also shouts to Epidemic Sound for the background music that you can hear. Pick up a hat or a copy of my book, The Living Soil Handbook, at notillgrowers.com. I cannot guarantee it will make it by Christmas if you're trying to order it as a Christmas present. I mean, we'll certainly try, but we make no guarantees. And honestly, our issues this year have been with the Postal Service and not us getting them to the Postal Service. So we'll do our best, but at this point, it's probably going to be difficult to get it to you by then. But big thank you to everyone over at patreon.com/notillgrowers, where at a certain level, or if you just bump up from one level to another, you sign up in the month of December, you get a shout out on the show. So big shout outs today to J-Man, or just J-Man. Either work. Shouts to Jay. All right, so this week's story, we are, following our biology teacher, Mr. Lakes. You remember Mr. Lakes, he was great. And anyway, Mr. Lakes' school gets shut down and he loses his job. And so he goes back to the school to start cleaning up his things and all the plants that he has there, and is thinking about how this whole school is going to be abandoned, but he's done so much work on the landscaping and he has 12 years of plants collected, and that it's just, he's gonna have to find homes for them. It's gonna be a whole ordeal. And then he also has this like a whole large greenhouse set up in the back, which he use for growing for fundraisers and stuff. And anyway, he thinks about what a shame all this is, and then thinks, wait a tick, I wonder if this building is for sale. That scheme begins tomorrow on Old School Meets New School. Yeah. That works. Thanks for watching and or listening. We'll see you then. Bye.